of it and causing that, that was just some sort of a special degree of just horrible person, you know?
Yeah, that's like, in terms of extremity of malevolent, psychopathic, sadistic. So they shot Patricia in the torso first. And do you remember the description of the I don't even call him a gentleman, the gentleman who was like shuffling on his feet and was uncomfortable about how much Patricia was suffering, getting tortured?
I wish I could give you a better description, but just 5 or 6 pot-bellied hillbillies. You know, you kind of, if you looked at older pictures of my dad, they just kind of looked like him. Just larger, thick people, not necessarily fat, not necessarily what you would think of as like a country boy, a big country boy, you know, beards and a little bit of hair, you know. Just thick, 5'10" to 6'1", you know, bigger 235, 250 pound guys.
So
just larger country boys, and I couldn't even tell you like their facial features or anything like that. I can remember at least some had facial hair, beards, mustaches, that sort of thing, and just larger people dressed in what you would consider just kind of country music type of attire.
Yeah.
Boots and blue jeans and, you know, button-up cowboy type shirts.
Yeah, so they...
You know, that's what all of them look like.
Okay, so when they had guns, you said you remembered one, and then 2 or 3, maybe 4 of them had guns. One of them shot Patricia in the chest. They tortured and raped Patricia. The one hillbilly was uncomfortable and said just end it to kill Patricia, but they... How long did they continue torturing Patricia before they shot Patricia in the head?
If I had to guess, I'd say probably in the realm of 30 minutes or so.
30 minutes.
I can remember that one or more of them raped her. Not everybody wanted to participate in that. And then the one guy just seemed, of those people, only one person really seemed exceptionally uncomfortable about the whole thing and didn't want to be there.
Yeah. And Patricia said Patricia wanted to die. That was what you remember Patricia saying to you, to kill Patricia? Like, or that Patricia was just saying...
They had beaten her, like...
So badly?
I don't know if all of them had beaten her, but one of them beat her, hit her really hard in, like, the ribs and things like that. She was having trouble breathing. And in my estimation, I think she already knew that they were going to kill her. And she just said, please just kill me. Something to that effect.
Yeah.
And I can remember looking at her and saying, baby, you're going to come be with me right now. And she looked at me and she smiled. And I said, I love you. And one of them shot her.
Yeah.
And she was having trouble. I said, just look at me. Don't look at them. And the other guy, he was breaking down. That guy that I'm telling you was shuffling on his feet. He said, I mean, he got a little upset or agitated or something and said, just fucking end it or just shoot her in the fucking head, whatever he said, because he was not enjoying it, like the guy that was doing the, I guess you just call it torture.
Yeah.
So after that, he shot her in the head, and then I can remember them arguing, well, why did you shoot her there? Because now we have to find another mattress, you fucking idiot, or whatever you called him.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, the way that those people talk, he's like, you know, shut your mouth or we'll get rid of 2 bodies or something, you know. That may not have been the exact conversation, but that was the mood of it and kind of the information that was getting passed back, you know. And then they wrapped her up in a sheet, took her out, and then I think there was some discussion as to whether or not they could just put a sheet over the mattress, but there was blood on it, and they said no. So they rolled up the mattress or did whatever they they did with the mattress, and they went and found another one, and that's how that went. It wasn't a big bed. It wasn't like a queen size bed. The way I remembered it was just like a twin bed.
And then Trump came in the room.
Yes.
Now, in terms of, you said you didn't remember if there was any cameras. There was Patricia getting killed filmed? Do you remember seeing any cameras at all?
I do not remember seeing any cameras at that time. So if there was a way to record it, there wasn't any. We went into that room alone, not knowing that it was going to get
it was a setup.
Interrupted.
Yeah.
Right. And so there were no cameras or anything that we were, unless there was some sort of a mirror, two-way mirror, and something set up behind it. That's possible that it was being filmed without our knowledge, but no. As far as do I know if there was any way to record that, I don't think so.
Do you remember whether there was any sort of?
It would have been. I'm sorry,
but go ahead.
From a logic perspective, I don't think it would have been recorded because those 6 people were in that room too. So 5, 6, 4, however many it was. I think it was 5 or 6. They would have been it wasn't a particularly big room. It wasn't like a main room. It was like a little guest room with an individual bed. So in my mind, I would doubt that was filmed because it would have had those people that murdered her on in the frame too. Whereas when they shot that girl in that separate instance in the film shoot, the cameras were pointed to us in the bed, and then the person came in and shot her from, like, you couldn't see the person shooting from the person who fired the shot from the film.
Was there?
You just know she got shot.
Yeah. So in the room, was there somewhere where there might have been a peephole?
There could have been. That's possible. If somebody was just watching. Like maybe even Trump himself. Like he wasn't there for any of that initial part. He just came in after.
Yeah, and you said your sense, what they had said, what they tried to convey to you, is that they knew Trump was coming in the room after, like Trump had hired them to.
Yes.
Torture and kill
One
Patricia.
of them pointed the gun at me and said, "There's going to be an old boy comes in here," and real Southern drawl. "There's going to be an old boy comes in here. You're going to do whatever he says, or I'm going to put a bullet in you too." And he called me something, you little hillbilly fuck, or whatever he called, and that was the one that had killed Patricia, and he was smiling. So he wasn't trying, I just remember how much pleasure he took in the kind of the horror of the situation.
Yeah. Well, I'm trying to just get a sense in terms of, because it seems obviously that obviously they knew about Trump, that Trump wouldn't just like stand in the hallway and cool his heels. It's the sort of situation,
right,
like from what you've described, what I know of Trump, that Trump would have wanted to hear what was going on or watch.
That's possible. I can't remember the exact layout of the room.
Or that Trump just wanted, or Trump just wanted you terrorized when Trump came into the room later.
It definitely wanted me afraid.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about that. And if that was to do with his desire to make the experience as horrible for me as possible, or whether that was from his psyche to give him some protection, because I was kind of already known, I think at that point, as being somebody that would fight back to the best of my ability.
Yeah.
So it could have been either circumstance, but it was definitely to shock, traumatize, and make me more pliable, I guess, in terms of acquiescing to whatever he wanted to do.
Yeah.
And I can just remember thinking, I'm gonna kill this sumbitch if I can just get an opportunity. You know, I'm a child at this point, about, you know, around, we'll say 12 years old. So he's a much larger person than I am, and of course 40 years ago he wasn't feeble. So, you know, I was looking for that vulnerable point where I could try to kill him, you know.
Well, that's understandable context. You know, there's a lot of, you know, policy, legislation, law per country where, you know, that's a situation, extreme circumstances when you're acting in self-defense. You have no idea at that point whether they might just come in and kill you right after. They'd said if you didn't do what they called Trump an old boy, what the old boy wanted, that they'd shoot you in the head as well.
Yeah. Yeah, they never said his name, I can tell you that, but I recognized him, and then I didn't see him until a number of years later on Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous. I don't know if you remember that, with Robin Leach.
Oh, yeah.
But I saw Trump on one of those episodes, and I knew that was him.
Yeah.
So at that time, I did not know that this is Donald Trump. It's just that later when I saw him on the Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous, and I said, well, I know that rich asshole. You know, because in my mind, even as a child, you know, they present on TV, you know, these rich people being, you know, something that you want to be. But from my experience, human beings on planet Earth.
Yeah. Well, you know, there are folks that are financially wealthy that aren't as utterly, horrifyingly malevolent. You sure?
Right.
You sure?
My adult me knows that,
but there are a lot. There's obviously a lot. You encountered the worst of the worst, without question.
Yeah. I am hopeful, though, that they have already made one connection, and if they do any more digging, all they're going to do is find more connections.
Yeah.
Because my dad has been involved in that sort of activity since at least 1980, you know, at least, and probably even a few years before that.
Yeah.
So we're talking 45 years, and those paths are going to cross, you know. I know that they're looking for specific intersections between him and Epstein, which I know exist.
Yeah.
But he's also going to intersect with many other people that were involved in all of that stuff.
Yeah.
He was kind of just one of those, being a pilot and being a former guy that could handle himself and having his, I'm pretty sure, private investigator's license. And just thinking from my standpoint, what that gives you the right to do, like you said, to initiate investigations, look into databases, also carry a sidearm.
Yeah.
So all of those things together, it definitely paints definitely paints a picture.
Yeah, so in terms of Ed Opperman, I would be careful. I wouldn't contact him if Ed contacts you again. Is the sort of situation where, if you had any idea, like in terms of who was corrupt and who isn't corrupt, it'd be like more like, you know, in terms of investigations. I think I have some contacts in terms of human rights lawyers and so on. And that might be where we find some more Dudley Do Rights that could help, even in terms of like prosecutors, whether in the United States and the ICC and so on. There's one or two Americans that have been involved in civil rights, one involved in civil rights cases that I think might help. That might be able to help Um, yeah. So, okay, day by day. Once I'll get sort of a preliminary list during the next couple of days, and I'll get the audio files. I'll look at them, get them sorted, look at getting them uploaded onto a Proton drive, and just sort of simmer with things. We can sort of go through the list. I want to just sort of go conversation by conversation in terms of folks I'm waiting for callbacks from, some that might have suggestions in terms of prosecutors here in Canada. And then I just want to make sure, in terms of careful contacts with, I don't want to waste time talking to Americans that, I don't want to waste time speaking to Americans that say they're going to behave helpful and that don't help. It's not right, you know.
Right.
So, and I want to be extremely careful in terms of Americans just, because of the circumstances. So, in your case, I think it would be a good idea, just prudent, just to have a go bag packed. Just.
I always do.
Oh, good. You know what I would love? If you would send me a text or something just with what you generally have in your go bag, just as, because that's helpful for me to have a look at, just in terms of, earthquake preparedness and so on and stuff. I'd love to have a look at what you have.
It's funny that you say that, because I was just recommending, because of all these floods, to some people that they pack one, and they were asking me the same thing. And I was just saying, hey, your birth certificate, your Social Security card, your very important papers, your passport, anything that you cannot reduplicate, for your life. And then, like clothes and stuff like that aren't necessarily that important. You can leave with the clothes on your back and still rebuild. Money, jewelry, a firearm if you have one.
Yeah.
But that's kind of it. I don't have anything sentimental or anything like that. It's just the thing. As a matter of fact, it's on my bed right now. That's where I got my paperwork for my to relay First Sergeant Bayless's information.
Okay.
But I would definitely. I'd probably love Canada anyway. You guys are friendly up there. Way more friendly than the.
Yeah, a lot of folks that travel here, they're shocked by how, most of the Canadians they come across are like super helpful and all that good stuff.
It used to be that way here in America.
Yeah.
It did. It used to be 40, 50 years ago. It was an entirely different experience here in America. And it's to be honest with you, from somebody that's been here almost my whole life, it's absolutely heartbreaking to see how it's just how we've been divided.
Yeah.
How it's an us versus them, and if you're on the red team, you're bad, and if you're on the blue team, you're not a patriot, and all this bullshit. And a lot of it just seems performative anymore from both sides to a degree. But
yeah,
one side is definitely, if you just look at the money, more corrupt, in my opinion. I could be wrong.
Yeah, no, it's quite different. It's quite different indeed. So, okay, well, let's, radio silence with everyone else. Keep in touch with those Allen analysis folks. Might be interesting. I'll see about us get a better sense of things about, a conversation with them, maybe. Like you and I and the folks from Allen. Did you talk to anyone at the Crustian yet?
I have not. I answered them back, but they have not reached back out to me. But the last contact I had with them before I spoke to you was that they were going to go and see if they could make a connection to either William Sascha Riley, my legal name now, Manuel Sascha Barros, my name before it was changed, or William K. Riley. So through those flight logs. So I don't know if they are still working that aspect of it, or if they have thus far run into a dead end, or what. But I had delayed my reaching back out to them, just kind of waiting to see what was going to transpire here. So that's where we are with them. So in my mind, I was just going to be polite but not give too much information. If they did reach back out, because I certainly don't want to brush them off, especially if they're actively, pursuing leads and stuff like that. But I wasn't going to necessarily push forward and or do another interview or anything like that. Not at this time, anyway. So that's kind of where we are with that one. But there were initially 4 that reached out. You were one of the 4. The other 2 we've spoken about, and the crustacean, they have not had further contact. So
okay. I think
we shall see.
Yeah, I think if they follow up, just again, I just have a really strong sense that should really be radio silence.
Okay.
I'd really like to see, in terms of speaking to some ethical prosecutors, or yeah.
It sounds good. I definitely appreciate all the follow-ups thus far, and I'm kind of, like I said, I'm a little nervous and anxious, but as long as this can get peeled back a little bit, I feel like we're going to open the whole can of worms.
Yeah.
And good, bad, or indifferent. It's like somebody said, well, what if it, and this is just online, so the sentiment from most of the people is if this is just going to decimate the entire government, well, then the entire government needs to be decimated. If the bulk of our institutions have been serving to use us as slaves and keep it quiet, then we need to purge that system. So
yeah.
There are definitely some influential people, though, that's going to expose, that aren't going to be too terribly happy about it. But I don't know.
Yeah, well, those perpetrators don't have any say in the matter, so.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, all right. Well, I appreciate everything. I will be waiting to kind of hear something else, and we'll take it from there.
Sounds good. Enjoy the rest of the day, and I'll look forward to checking in soon.
You do as well. Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.
Mm-hmm.